What if everything you thought you knew about ancient history was wrong? Our textbooks tell us a clear story, a linear path from simple hunter-gatherers to the rise of great empires. It's a neat, tidy narrative. But what if that narrative is incomplete? What if beyond the well-trodden paths of documented history, there are gaping holes filled with the echoes of incredible civilizations that simply vanished? We've all marveled at the great wonders of the world. The towering pyramids of Giza, the majestic stones of Stonehenge, the intricate city of Machu Picchu. These are the masterpieces of civilizations we know and revere. Their stories are carved in stone, their legacies immortalized in our books. But for every story we know, what if there's another we've forgotten? Today, we're going to step off that path. We're going to ignore the famous monuments and the celebrated ruins. Instead, we're going to search for something else, something far more subtle, more baffling. We're going to look for the whispers of time left behind by cultures that history simply forgot. These aren't grand monuments meant for the ages. They're subtle clues, a strange carving that defies explanation, a tool mark that shouldn't exist, a structure submerged beneath the waves. They're traces that challenge everything we believe about our past. They're forcing us to ask, was humanity's story far more complex and surprising than we ever dared to imagine? Deep beneath the dust of ages, secrets lie buried, waiting to be unearthed. This isn't just about ancient stones, it's about paradigm-shifting discoveries that could completely redefine our understanding of who we are and where we came from. Join us as we explore these astonishing, unexpected remnants. Join us as we explore the secrets buried deep beneath the dust of ages, waiting to be unearthed. Prepare to have your mind stretched, because the history we thought we knew may be a history we're just beginning to understand. It's time to rewrite the past. Now that we've opened our minds to the possibility of a forgotten past, let's start digging. Forget the obvious. The real secrets aren't waiting for us at the top of a pyramid. They're hidden in plain sight. They're the subtle clues that mainstream archaeology has often dismissed as anomalies, natural occurrences, or simply mistakes. But what if they're not? What if they're pieces of a puzzle so vast it changes the entire picture? Our journey begins with something tangible, something that you can see, touch, and measure: the impossible stonework. We've all seen the massive, crudely carved stones of early human structures, but then you encounter a place like Pumapunku in Bolivia. This isn't just a pile of ancient rocks. These are massive, intricately carved stones, some weighing over 130 tons. What's truly astonishing is their precision. These blocks have perfect, sharp angles and flawlessly flat surfaces, with cutouts that look like they were made with a modern laser. There are even small, perfectly cylindrical holes drilled into them, so precise it's difficult to replicate even with today's technology. Mainstream history tells us the people who built this place only had rudimentary copper tools. But how could soft copper carve solid diorite with such incredible precision? It's a physical impossibility. This isn't a theory. It's a tangible question carved into stone. And it's not just Pumapunku. We see similar questions at ancient quarries around the world. In Baalbek, Lebanon, for example, you'll find the stone of the pregnant woman. A single, quarried block weighing an estimated 1,200 tons. To put that into perspective, that's heavier than 3 fully loaded Boeing 747s. It sits there, still in the quarry, as if the builders simply gave up. But the question remains, what kind of civilization had the engineering knowledge and sheer power to even attempt to move such a colossal object? These stones are a physical, unexplainable footprint of a lost technology. But the clues don't always come from massive stones. Sometimes they come from the sky. Satellite technology, a tool our ancestors couldn't have imagined, is now revealing their secrets. We're not talking about famous geoglyphs like the Nazca lines. We're talking about vast, anomalous formations that defy natural explanation. Look at the Richat structure in Mauritania, often called the Eye of the Sahara. It's a massive, circular geological formation over 40 kilometers across. Geologists say it's an eroded dome, but others can't help but notice its striking similarity to Plato's description of the lost city of Atlantis, a city of concentric circles of land and water. The Richat structure has 3 concentric rings. Is it a coincidence? Or could this remote, barren wasteland hold the remains of a once thriving metropolis, now buried under millions of years of sand? The evidence is provocative, and the question refuses to go away. And deep beneath the dense canopy of the Amazon rainforest, satellite imagery has revealed something equally stunning: vast, geometric earthworks and massive grids etched into the landscape. These aren't random. They suggest a highly organized society, a forgotten network of cities and towns that we never knew existed. They hint at a civilization far more advanced and widespread than our textbooks ever told us. A civilization that was simply swallowed by the jungle. But perhaps the most profound clues of all are not in stone or sand, but in our stories. Every culture on Earth has a myth of a great cataclysm, a flood, an ice age, or some event that wiped out a former age of the world. We dismiss them as fables, but what if they are not? What if they are the fragmented cultural memories of a real event? What if these stories are the final whispers of a civilization that was, quite literally, erased from the face of the Earth? These aren't theories from fringe historians. They are tangible evidence. Physical objects, geological anomalies, satellite images, and the shared heritage of human myths that all challenge the conventional timeline of human history. They are the hidden clues that tell us our story is far from complete, and that the biggest discoveries of all might be waiting for us, right here, hiding in plain sight. We've looked at the impossible stonework, the whispers in our myths, and the shadows revealed by our satellites. But now, it's time to confront the most provocative evidence of all: the physical proof that is literally etched into the bedrock of our planet and written in the stars above us. This is where the conventional narrative truly begins to fracture. Let's start by looking up, way up, to the stars. History books tell us that primitive man was focused on survival, not on charting constellations. But the evidence tells a completely different story. Consider Göbekli Tepe in modern-day Turkey. At an incredible 12,000 years old, this is considered the oldest known temple in the world. It was built thousands of years before the accepted timeline for agriculture and settled societies. The builders were supposedly simple hunter-gatherers, yet they organized themselves to move and erect massive T-shaped pillars, some weighing up to 20 tons. But what's truly astonishing is what's carved into these pillars. On Pillar 43, known as the Vulture Stone, we see carvings of animals that some researchers believe represent constellations, as well as a symbol interpreted as a global cataclysm, perhaps a comet impact, that coincides with the Younger Dryas period, an event that plunged the world into a mini ice age. This suggests an advanced astronomical understanding, a deep knowledge of the cosmos, and a detailed memory of a global event that happened thousands of years ago. It completely shatters the idea that these people were primitive. They were astronomers, historians, and architects. And Göbekli Tepe is not an isolated case. Travel to the barren landscape of Egypt's western desert, and you'll find Nabta Playa, a stone circle that predates Stonehenge by thousands of years. It was built by a nomadic, pre-dynastic cattle-herding culture. But these were no simple nomads. The stones are carefully aligned with the summer solstice, and even with the stars that would have appeared in the night sky at the time. This isn't just a simple calendar. It's an astronomical observatory, a sophisticated tool for measuring time and seasons. How could a culture that lived in such a transient way possess such profound knowledge of celestial mechanics? It's another clear footprint of a brilliant and now forgotten civilization. These aren't just random rocks in the desert. They are ancient calendars, telling a story we are only now beginning to understand. But the evidence isn't only in the sky. It's also etched into the ground itself, on a massive scale. We've all heard of the Nazca lines in Peru. They are a famous mystery, giant geoglyphs of animals, plants, and geometric shapes carved into the desert floor. The sheer scale is mind-boggling, with some designs stretching for miles. But the most profound question they present is this: why would a culture with no known ability to fly create designs that can only be fully appreciated from high above the ground? The precision required is incredible. Theories range from religious ceremonies to elaborate calendars or even markers for underground water sources. but none fully explain the scale or the aerial perspective. These aren't just drawings. They are immense, deliberate works of art that required an impossible level of planning and coordination, begging the question, were they made for someone or something flying overhead? And if you think that's strange, let's go even deeper. Let's look beneath the waves. The end of the last ice age, around 12,000 years ago, caused sea levels to rise by over 400 feet, submerging vast coastal areas. What if entire civilizations were wiped from the map in a single cataclysm? This brings us to a place off the coast of Japan, near the island of Yonaguni. Divers there have found the Yonaguni Monument, a massive, submerged structure of what appear to be terraces, perfectly straight edges, and sharp 90-degree angles. It's a 500-foot-long megalith that looks like a submerged pyramid or a temple. While some argue it's a natural formation, the geometric precision and apparent terracing are a stark contrast to what we'd expect from natural erosion. It's a tantalizing piece of evidence that perhaps a brilliant civilization once flourished here, only to be swallowed by the ocean. But that's not all. In the Gulf of Cambay off the coast of India, sonar images have revealed what appear to be submerged ruins over 40 meters underwater. These ruins, including what look like buildings and streets, were found alongside artifacts and pottery that have been carbon dated to around 9,500 years ago. This discovery, if proven to be an ancient city, would push back the timeline of urban civilization by thousands of years, completely rewriting our understanding of how and when human beings first developed complex societies. From the stars in the sky to the stones under our feet and the cities under the sea, these are more than just archaeological oddities. They are invitations. Invitations to think critically, to question established narratives, and to reimagine our collective history. They are the echoes of a past that refuses to stay buried. They are the voices of the forgotten, calling out to us across the millennia, asking us to listen, and to finally understand their story. The question is, are we ready to hear it? We've traveled across the globe, from impossible stonework to mysterious astronomical alignments. We've seen the physical evidence of a past that defies our understanding. But what if the greatest clues aren't etched in stone or hidden under the sea? What if they are woven into the very fabric of who we are? This is where our journey gets personal, because the untold stories of our ancestors aren't just in the ruins they left behind. They're in our blood, our memories, and our minds. Let's start with the most intimate blueprint of all, our DNA. For decades, our understanding of human history was based on bones and tools. We thought we had a clear lineage, but new scientific techniques are allowing us to read our genetic code in ways our ancestors could never have imagined, and what we're finding is completely rewriting the map of human migration. For example, for years we knew of Homo sapiens and Neanderthals. But then researchers sequenced the genome of a finger bone found in a Siberian cave and discovered something completely new. A previously unknown branch of ancient humans, now called the Denisovans. What's even more astonishing is that their DNA is not extinct. It lives on in us. Modern populations in places like Southeast Asia, Papua New Guinea, and indigenous Australians carry significant traces of Denisovan DNA. This means that at some point, our ancestors didn't just compete with these other human groups, they interbred with them. It tells a story of a lost, forgotten people whose legacy lives on in our genes. Our textbooks never mention the Denisovans, but our bodies remember them. But the secrets aren't just in our biology. They're in the things our ancestors created, and some of those things just don't make sense. Archaeologists call them out-of-place artifacts, or OPARTs. They are objects that seem to defy the technology and knowledge of the time they were made. Perhaps the most famous example is the Antikythera mechanism, a complex device recovered from an ancient Greek shipwreck over a century ago. For years, it was a mystery. But with modern X-ray technology, we can see what it was. A sophisticated astronomical calculator. It could predict eclipses, track the movements of the planets, and calculate the dates of ancient Olympic Games, all with staggering complexity and precision. It was an analog computer, a device so advanced that nothing remotely similar to it would be invented for another 1,000 years. This single artifact forces us to ask, where did the Greeks get this level of technical knowledge? Was it a stroke of individual genius, or was it a piece of a larger, lost scientific legacy? And then there's the Baghdad battery, a small clay pot with an iron rod and copper cylinder inside, found in modern-day Iraq. While its true purpose is still debated, some researchers believe it was a galvanic cell, a primitive battery. If this theory is correct, it would mean that people in the Middle East had discovered electricity nearly 2,000 years before it was officially documented. It's a simple, humble object that, if its true function is what we suspect, would completely rewrite the history of invention and human ingenuity. But these uparts aren't always a machine. Sometimes they're in art. Look at some of the ancient carvings and rock art from around the world. In the ancient temple of Abydos in Egypt, there are hieroglyphs that some believe resemble a helicopter and other modern vehicles. And in petroglyphs from other cultures, we find depictions of beings and symbols that don't fit the historical record. Figures wearing what looks like futuristic gear or carrying strange instruments. Are these just wild interpretations of simple art, or are they the visual memories of a time when our ancestors saw technology or beings we can't explain? Finally, let's consider the most fundamental human trait of all: language. Researchers have found surprising linguistic similarities across disparate cultures, separated by vast oceans and centuries of isolation. For instance, words for basic concepts like mother or father can have surprisingly similar sounds in languages that are not considered to be related. Are these just coincidences? Or are they the last lingering echoes of a shared proto-language, a linguistic footprint left behind by a forgotten global culture? It's a tantalizing question that suggests our shared heritage may be far deeper and far more connected than we ever thought possible. From the secrets in our DNA to the forgotten inventions and shared words, these clues challenge the narrative that humanity's journey was a simple, isolated climb. They hint at a far more complex story, a tale of lost connections, forgotten knowledge, and a past that is not truly gone, but simply waiting to be rediscovered within ourselves. We've embarked on a journey across time and space, from the impossible stones of Pumapunku to the genetic whispers of the Denisovans in our DNA. We've challenged the linear narrative of history and uncovered tantalizing clues that a past far more complex, advanced, and interconnected than we ever imagined might have existed. So what does it all mean? What are the implications of these forgotten traces for our collective story? First, it forces us to reevaluate our definition of primitive. The evidence from places like Göbekli Tepe and Nabta Playa shows us that early humans weren't just surviving, they were observing the cosmos, building sophisticated calendars, and organizing complex social projects on a massive scale. They were astronomers, engineers, and architects. This redefines what we thought was possible for our ancestors and highlights an incredible level of human ingenuity and resilience that has been lost to time. It's a powerful reminder that history is not a slow, steady climb, but a series of peaks and valleys, of incredible achievements and devastating collapses. Second, it challenges the idea that we are a disconnected species. The shared myths of a great flood, the similar linguistic patterns across continents, the presence of Denisovan DNA in disparate populations. These are not coincidences. They are echoes of a shared global past, a time when our ancestors may have been far more connected than we ever knew. It suggests that our collective story is not a collection of isolated tales from different tribes, but a single, epic saga that has been fractured and forgotten. We are all, in some small way, connected to these forgotten civilizations. Their legacy lives on in the genes we carry, the stories we tell, and the questions we ask. But perhaps the most profound implication of all is the lesson of humility. Mainstream history tells a comfortable, orderly story that gives us a clear sense of progress and superiority. But these forgotten traces pull back the curtain, revealing the vast gaps in our knowledge. They remind us that for all our modern technology and understanding, we are standing on the shoulders of giants whose stories we have yet to fully discover. It's a humbling thought, but also an inspiring one. It means the biggest discoveries are not behind us, They are ahead of us. The book of human history is not closed. We are still in the opening chapters, and the most astonishing truths are still waiting to be written. So where do we go from here? The first step is to engage with critical thinking, to question established narratives, to look at the world around you not just as it is, but as it once was, to see a rock not just as a rock, but as a piece of a story that might have been told by a lost civilization, to see the stars not just as lights in the sky, but as a map that our ancient ancestors used to navigate their world. The true goal is not to find a single lost city or forgotten empire. The goal is to open our minds to the possibility that our past is far richer, more mysterious, and more profound than we ever dared to imagine. It's about recognizing that the whispers of time are not just ghosts of a bygone era. They are the foundations of our present, and by listening to them, we might just unlock the true story of who we are and where we are truly from. So, we invite you to join us on this journey. What are your thoughts on these forgotten traces? Do you have your own theories or discoveries? Share them in the comments below. Let's continue this conversation, because by questioning the past, we can build a better future. A future where we understand our collective story in a whole new light. Thank you for joining us.